Breaking: Israel-Russia Wikileaks, the FBI and hacking. www.veteranstoday.com. Breaking: Israel, Russia, Wikileaks, the FBI and hacking. By Ian Greenhalgh on December 30, 2016. Editor's note: Veterans Today even played its part. When confronted by evidence of electoral interference at every level, just like the CIA does to other countries, this time payback for the US, we knew that the truth would never get out. We tried telling the Clinton campaign that the FBI and Israel were rigging the election, working hand in hand with fake news, voter suppression and sophisticated erasable hacking. What they all wanted was to blame Russia, the traditional boogeyman. This is why evidence is so thin, against Russia at least. The evidence against WikiLeaks, Israel and traitors in the US is massive, but all are under FBI protection and there is no other body that can protect the United States. Congress and the Supreme Court fell under the control of the elements that rigged this election long ago, something carefully documented by VT time and time again. The evidence was overwhelming and it would have produced a massive amount of quality intelligence. We had worked with the CIA on social media monitoring and analysis intelligence, some of us at least, in the Gulf, and we knew that Facebook was on board, coordinating rumors and smears. Other efforts must have left the trail for others that we quickly found, straight to Tel Aviv, tied to a Netanyahu grudge and his obsession with destroying Iran and ethnically cleansing the Palestinian people, to hideous acts of criminality now deep in planning between the Trump and Likudist camps. What will or at least should hang them all is the trail left by WikiLeaks. The Russians, out of desperation, let Assange into Russia today, with other recognized foreign intelligence assets, a penetration of both Sputnik News and RT. Press TV in Iran had gone through a similar process, but Revolutionary Guards purged that publication and returned it to its previous level of prominence and quality. For those unaware, if such a thing is possible, America's efforts to undermine and control the press have long been turned on America herself through penetration of the BBG, the shadowy Broadcast Board of Governors, and their equally shadowy relationship with the CIA's black propaganda mechanisms who, through Booz Allen Hamilton and the State Department's aside, run the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, the White Helmets in Syria, the phony Moscow Times, Washington Post, New York Times, Newsweek, the Daily Bees, and for our friends in the UK, the Daily Mail and the Guardian. Feeding all is really the Mossad, whose best and most defended asset has, since 2009, been WikiLeaks and Julian Assange, taking over that crown from the Murdoch organizations. Now for the story, G. By Ian Greenhalgh. Sanctions, diplomat sent home, wild accusations, but one thing is known for sure, WikiLeaks did it. Why isn't anyone looking for them? Assange didn't do it. Well then, who really is WikiLeaks? Why do they want a Trump presidency, and why does WikiLeaks share, and listen very carefully, all of the global political aspirations of Israel's Licudists? It was 2010 when CFR, Council on Foreign Relations, Chairman, Zbigniew Brzezinski cited WikiLeaks as an intelligence operation, packaged to turn the world's hatred of America's Israeli-inspired war on terror on its ear, and under the guise of enlightenment push the world into more frenzy and hate. The real pattern of WikiLeaks, seeded into bland material exposing American corruption and idiocy, is always the same: attacking and smearing Israel's enemies, particularly American politicians, who stand against the occupation of Palestine, the illegal settlements and ethnic cleansing, or who have secretly derailed the Turkish/Saudi/ISIS/Israel axis of terror against Iran, Iraq, Syria and, wait for it, the people of Ukraine, Georgia and the Caspian Basin states as well. This is the why of Brexit, why the phony right, seeming inheritors of the tired and overused Hitler mantle like Trump's pro-Israeli Nazi alt-right in America, have been tasked with gutting NATO and dismembering the European Union. It isn't just the US that is to be erased from the global scene. Under Trump's isolationist policies, it goes further. A carefully engineered power vacuum where the only players left, Russia and China, eventually become the targets themselves, seen as easy pickings based on their economic vulnerabilities. For instance, all that holds Russia together is the heartbeat of one man. Putin is 64 years old but lives a healthy lifestyle and shows no signs of age catching up with him. With the current world situation, we can only hope he continues to enjoy rude good health. As things are today, were Putin gone, and we can't stress this enough, the world would descend into a dark age. For the past few months, Wikileaks has been a Netanyahu analog, a tool used to express his personal rage against Kerry and Obama, against Hillary Clinton, who blocked his every move, who defanged the bogus Iron Dome, removing the Aegis destroyers that were the heart of Israel's missile protection, and blocked Israel's secret military presence in Georgia and Azerbaijan aimed at bringing Russia and America into a nuclear confrontation. Including and especially, their hatred of Obama and Clinton. Is this about Russia and Syria, or, as this week's news has really made clear to us, that the real conflict was never about Russia at all, but rather, to prevent Israeli, organized crime and of course, Wikileaks from turning the United States into their Zionist vassal that the alt-right has been reminding us about for years. Now we're going to make our case. Wikileaks. Julian Assange, the face of Wikileaks, is nothing more than a frontman, an actor playing a role, someone to stand on the balcony of the Ecuadorian embassy in London and read out press releases from time to time. He doesn't even have internet access at the embassy. That is, if he really is living there and not being brought in for public appearances by the British police who are supposedly keeping him under close surveillance. The moment Wikileaks released tens of thousands of classified US State Department cables, way beyond anything Hillary is accused of putting out, and absolutely nothing was done, any suspicions about Wikileaks were put to bed. The fix was in. If Wikileaks is a worldwide organization in Europe, Canada and the US, working with Russian intelligence to interfere in an American election through espionage, then why isn't anyone named by the FBI as being wanted or even under investigation? The accusations that Obama has leveled against Russia leading to recent expulsions and new sanctions against Russia, a nation-state, would necessitate classifying Wikileaks personnel as non-state actors subject to the kind of retribution Assange often refers to, up to and even drone assassination. But nothing is ever done, not even covertly. An area VT is uniquely capable of monitoring through its networks. Quite the opposite. Wikileaks isn't gone after because it doesn't really exist. WikiLeaks is a fake, more fake than even the fake news. In fact, much of the WikiLeaks material leaked during the election was manufactured, fake emails, just as Brzezinski had warned. Who are these invisible people that make up the WikiLeaks staff? Or is it really Tel Aviv like we said all along and Wikileaks is just a nice brand name to put on Mossad disinfo releases? We warned Russia today years ago that Assange was an Israeli asset and would burn them. However, our warning was not heeded, which we took as an indication that RT has also been infiltrated by Israel. After all, if Wikileaks were a real organization carrying out real leaks that do real damage to real people and even nations, then those charged with protecting those people and nations, such as the FBI, would surely be kicking down doors and making arrests and extradition requests in order to rein them in and prevent further damage in future. However, that is not the case. The FBI is not looking for any Wikileaks people. No one is hunting them, or cutting off their money, or even restricting their travel, or accusing them of anything. In fact, it increasingly looks like WikiLeaks really doesn't exist at all and is in itself fake news. Our investigation has shown us, and we said this long ago, that the FBI cannot find WikiLeaks because WikiLeaks does not exist. In reality, under a secret treaty signed by Bush Jr., the NSA passes all the raw data it gathers to Unit 8200, a secretive Israeli intelligence organization in Tel Aviv, where it is sifted and filtered in order to find materials that can be used for nefarious purposes and to further Israel's agenda. That is how the material to be leaked under the Wikileaks brand is mined. It is an Israeli operation enabled by Israeli assets in the U.S. intelligence and surveillance agencies. Leaked SLID from Edward Snowden that was released by Glenn Greenwald in new book, No Place to Hide, published in May 2014. The leaked statement above shows that the signals intelligence exchange between the American and Israeli governments has been driven almost entirely by the NSA giving information to the Israelis, instead of Israel giving information to the U.S. That the raw data collected by the NSA is shared with Israel was reported by The Guardian in September 2014. The National Security Agency routinely shares raw intelligence data with Israel without first sifting it to remove information about U.S. citizens, a top-secret document provided to The Guardian by whistleblower Edward Snowden reveals. According to the agreement, the intelligence being shared would not be filtered in advance by NSA analysts to remove U.S. communications. NSA routinely sends ISNU, the Israeli SIG International Unit, minimized and unminimized raw collection, it says. A much stricter rule was set for U.S. government communications found in the raw intelligence. The Israelis were required to destroy upon recognition any communication that is either to or from an official of the U.S. government. Such communications included those of officials of the executive branch, including the White House, cabinet departments, and independent agencies, the U.S. House of Representatives and Senate, member and staff, and the U.S. federal court system, including, but not limited to, the Supreme Court. This not only raises major privacy concerns for American citizens, it also means that Israel is spying on the American Congress and other high-level politicians, which explains how Israel is able to bribe and coerce so many. It has all the dirt on them, courtesy of the NSA. Also note that Wikileaks is no longer leaking, now at the US election is over and the damage is done. Instead they are making press releases and giving advice. The FBI, Directory Comey and Israeli infiltration. A funny thing is happening in the MSM right now. We are being bombarded with rhetoric about the alleged Russian hacking of emails in order to influence the US election. However, the silence about Wikileaks, long identified as a Mossad operation, is deafening. Contrary to the MSM version of events that talks solely about Russia, the real narrative is all about Iran and Wikileaks. Lurking behind it all, however, is Israel and its assets in the US MSM, the FBI, the NSA, the Pentagon and elsewhere. The FBI is at the nexus of events yet again. They were proven to be complicit in the election hacking fiasco, a role they undertook at the behest of Israel, led by Israeli asset Director Comey. Sadly, the FBI has been deeply infiltrated by Israel, and that lies behind their push to blame Russia for the hacking. FBI Director Comey was put in place by Obama to clean house. Unfortunately, he turned out to be an Israeli asset and has committed treason in service of his Zionist masters. That the FBI has been the driving force behind the Russian hacking narrative is clear proof that Russia is being set up as the fall guy. The FBI is attempting to blame Russia in order to cover for their Israeli masters. At the same time as they are blaming Russia, the FBI is completely ignoring Wikileaks, another strong indicator that both organizations are working for Israel. Any group working with a foreign intelligence service against the US is guilty of sedition and espionage. Furthermore, Julian Assange should now be classified as an enemy combatant. However, rather than fulfilling its responsibility to protect the US from Wikileaks, the FBI has done nothing. Make no mistake, without the protection of the FBI and other Israeli assets in the US, then Wikileaks could not operate, nor could it survive very long. From a high-level Washington source. Look for Comey's history on Wikileaks, whether he covered for them or not, and whether he still is. Obama, Kerry and the payback for meddling in the US election. Obama is raging at Russia over their interference in the election, but isn't Obama also raging at Israel? The real retaliation by the US for the election fraud that has placed Trump in the White House is not the sanctions against Russia, nor is it the expulsion of 35 Russian diplomats, rather it is against Israel in the form of the UN Security Council vote, the rebuke of John Kerry's vehemently critical speech and other actions that will be seen in the next 3 weeks before Trump is inaugurated. The issue is now sanctions versus settlements. Obama's move to get the USNC to vote against Israel is the most grievous blow one could strike against a nation short of thermonuclear war. It is pure legitimization of the nation-state of Israel, making it abundantly clear that the Israeli actions towards the Palestinians, not just the settlements but all the other, far worse treatment since 1947, are crimes against humanity. No wonder Netanyahu has reacted furiously. There is little love lost between Obama and Bibi. In 2011 at the G20 summit in Cannes, French President Nicolas Sarkozy, in a private exchange with Obama that was inadvertently broadcast to journalists, said, "I cannot stand him. He's a liar." The US president responded by saying, "You're fed up with him? I have to deal with him every day." Why is Obama doing it now? Obama is only showing the kind of leadership and judgment now, just as he is leaving office, that we wished he had shown all along. Sadly, the 2-term limit is removing Obama from office just as he is becoming both experienced and wise enough to be an effective president and to deal with the United States' real enemy, Israel, in an appropriately severe manner. Trump. There's Zionist-controlled media and fake news. We also know that Trump is an Israeli asset, something he makes blatantly obvious with his bellicose support of their policies, most recently, his denunciation of the UN Security Council vote against the illegal Israeli settlements as very, very unfair to Israel. Furthermore, it is becoming increasingly obvious that not only is he answering to a handler, Trump is also not very smart. Otherwise he would not have allowed the accusations of being a Russian asset to be hung around his neck. That was an idiotic move on his part and one that greatly weakened him politically. The puppet and his master, Bibi, visits Trump earlier this year. And that the fake news folks are all longtime Zionists and Russia haters. Who changed side for a day. As part of the operation to frame Russia. And maybe start a war. 6:11 and 24 seconds, Gordon Duff, the accusation of hacking an American election won't go away. 6:14 and 10 seconds, Gordon Duff, remind the readers that when the Soviet Union needed intelligence on CIA agents and US nuclear secrets, they went to Israel, and Netanyahu and Jonathan Pollard spied for the Soviet Union. 6:14 and 38 seconds, Gordon Duff, getting them the knock, non-official cover, CIA list leading to the torture and killing of all CIA assets behind the Iron Curtain. 6:14 and 39 seconds, Gordon Duff, and 6:14 and 50 seconds, Gordon Duff, passing America's most vital nuclear secrets to Russia. 6:15 and 6 seconds, Ian Greenhalgh, and Putin was in the KGB at that time. 6:15 and 14 seconds, Gordon Duff, and that the version told the public is utterly false, fake news. 6:15 and 39 seconds, Gordon Duff, though this might not have been his operation. 6:16 and 3 seconds, Ian Greenhalgh, do we even know which directorate he was in? 6:16 and 18 seconds, Gordon Duff, you will never know what he worked on.